Make Chile great again. Meet the far-right presidential candidate tempting voters from Chile's left and center. I want Chile to get back in order. The migrant crisis is out of control. We need more economic stability, and to stop the violence we're still seeing 2 years after the social uprising. The only candidate who clearly says he will straighten things up is him, he adds.
This Sunday, Chileans will head to the polls to elect their new president. Voters will pick 1 out of 7 candidates. If none of them reaches the absolute majority, there would be a runoff in December to choose between the top 2 runners. But Chile still hasn't regained the stability for which it was once known. Brutal clashes between protesters and security forces continue weekly in Santiago. Violence has also stricken parts of the country's south, where the government says drug traffickers took advantage of the status conflict with indigenous communities to gain control.
Like many countries, Chile's economy also slowed during the pandemic, prompting Congress to approve successive withdrawals from private pension funds. The pension system is a legacy from the military regime and credited by many businesses and economists as the foundation of the country's strong capital markets. Others, however, define the private pension system as a symbol of inequality. The turmoil has had a negative impact on the financial system and increasing inflation.
Considering the 2019 political upheaval, Gabriel Boric, a 35-year-old leftist congressman and former student leader, has been widely perceived as the presidential candidate who better represents the country's social movement. He runs for a broad coalition that champions a welfare state model, and that includes the Communist Party. In the past few weeks, however, the situation has changed, reflecting increasing political polarization in Chile. Cast's surging popularity comes as something of a surprise after he opposed the creation of a new constitution and the election of a constituent assembly in May. It favored a left-leaning majority. But experts say it's part of a new trend in politics across the world, the expression of a frustrated middle class, distrustful of traditional parties and institutions, looking for more stability. I see this as part of the global penetration of a populist speech similar to Jair Bolsonaro's in Brazil and Donald Trump's in the USA, says Cristobal Belolio, a doctor in political philosophy and assistant professor at the Universidad Adolfo Ibáñez in Santiago. They have an anti-globalist message and promote the exaltation of patriotic values that seem threatened by the left's drive to drastically change everything. We are seeing a Chilean interpretation of the Make America Great Again, he adds. A new right for Chile. José Antonio Cast, a 55-year-old lawyer and former congressman, was a member of the Unión Democrática Independiente, Chile's most conservative party, before deciding to run independently in the 2017 presidential election. Less than 8% of the voters supported him, but he created his own party a year later and decided to try again. A fervent Catholic and father of 9, he comes from a family of entrepreneurs of German descent. One of his brothers held several ministerial positions during Pinochet's infamous regime. In the introduction to his political platform, Cast presents himself as the potential leader of a new right centered on 3 pillars: freedom, the defense of law and order, and the strength of family. Cast's proposals include a tax cut for companies, building barriers in the north of Chile to prevent migrants from entering illegally, abolishing abortion, and reinforcing the police, among others. He has also criticized the United Nations and wishes to limit Chile's involvement in it. It is true that he is part of a nationalist populist right that has been surging in other countries, but in addition to that he inherited the more extreme positions of his former party, says Robert Funk, a professor of political science at the Universidad de Chile and associate researcher at the Center for Strategic and International Studies. The lack of attractive candidates at the center of the political spectrum, the economic downturn, anti-communist feelings, and the government's weakening due to social unrest, experts say, explain Cast's rapid surge. I changed my mind. I felt Chile was softening up, not answering questions clearly, and I lost my trust in him. Cast was the candidate who had a clear stance on issues that matter and called things by their names, she says. Justiniano says that the October 2019 social uprising and the pandemic deeply affected her family. She lost a large part of her income and felt insecure because of the violence of the riots. Now, she wants to live in peace. I don't want anyone to give me money. I want to be able to earn my wage. I want to go out to work without worrying about taking public transportation, she says. Justiniano's position summarizes the general feeling of some center-leaning voters who've been disillusioned with the candidates on offer. Experts say that Sichel didn't manage to keep the momentum he initially gained, and the center-left contender, Jasna Prevost, a member of the traditional Christian Democratic Party and the only female candidate, joined the race later in and failed to fully connect with her target electorate. Moving away from the center, Chileans don't think in terms of left or right politics as much as in terms of a cleavage between chaos and order, according to Kenneth Bunker, a political scientist and the director of TraceQuintus.cl, a digital platform of political analysis. A sector of Chileans also feels disenchanted with the social movement and the constitutional process. According to Cristobal Villolio, motivated by the idea of a more equal country, many felt they had to accept the turbulence as a cost for decisive political agreements that would bring peace and prosperity. Now, they wonder if it was worth it. Some feel frustrated not to see their lives changed after all that. Others worry that the Constituent Assembly is leaning too far left. They see caste as a possible counterweight. Justiniano, for example, does not support caste's more socially conservative policies, but believes Chile's Congress won't allow him to go through with them. The demand for reassurance is strong enough for part of the population to trade once cherished values for the idea of order and economic growth, experts say. Alvarez is one of those people. He belongs to the LGBTQ+ community and knows that caste is against same-sex marriage. But he says he is ready to sacrifice that kind of freedom in exchange for stronger leadership and more certainty about what comes forward.
Thank you for watching. Please subscribe